This vehicle was marked as scrap. Now, I seem to like these TT Mark II amplified run-out editions because I've gone and bought another one. And here we go, another Copart risk taken, and this is again a Mark II amplified run-out edition Audi TT, but it's exactly the opposite of the red one I bought last year. The red one I bought was a 2-litre petrol DSG Quattro. This one is a diesel manual Quattro. So basically it's the other option. All the amplified editions come in Quattro. You could just spec either 2-litre petrol or 2-litre diesel. So this is the 2-litre diesel. I believe it's the 177 PS. And this one is category N, and it is supposed to be flood damaged. So in the auction it says it's a non-runner and the clutch pedal goes to the floor. So there are my symptoms, but otherwise it shouldn't be damaged. It would just have to assume it doesn't run. So this is going to be one of those videos where I get the car, I basically take all the risks, and at the end of the video, if it's an easy fix, I'll fix it. If it's not, I'll describe what the problem is, and one of you guys can just come and buy it off me as one of your own little projects. I was just really interested in it because I saw it go through the auction probably 2 or 3 times, and then at the end of it I thought, well, it's quite a cheap car, so I'll have a little punt, and I ended up winning the auction. And of course the insurance company wanted about twice as much as I won the auction for, and eventually I didn't budge at all and I got the car. So yeah, it's I really do like these. They do look a cool car. Now, I have noticed a bit of damage, and it's blatantly from the Copart forklifts. So you can see where they've damaged the splitter here, picking the car up, and I can tell it's from the forklifts because I have an exact crack here on the other side as well. So where they've just picked it up, they've just smacked there and done that bit of damage, which isn't ideal. I don't know if you can get this black piece separately. I'd like to think you can, otherwise that's going to be an expensive fix there. So yeah, as I said, it looks like it's been sat for a while. It's absolutely minging. Discs are really rusty. Inside the doors are also absolutely disgusting. As I said, this is a flood damaged car, so I assume that it was flood damaged, obviously, but usually when it's a category N, it means the water hasn't got in the interior. That is usually how they do it, and if it gets in the interior, they usually put it as a Cat B. But yeah, just more telltale signs. It is absolutely minging. Of course the battery's flat, and I hope I have an engine. That'll be the next stage. So let's have a quick look under the bonnet. Doesn't look too bad. Yeah, you can just see it sat. My worst enemy is absolutely everywhere. Look, spiders. And oh yeah, bloody hell, God knows how long it's sat like this for, but it has been here a while. So as I said, yeah, this is supposed to be a non-runner. Oh God, it's disgusting. I think I'm going to break tradition, and one of the first things we're going to do is take a jet wash to this, because yeah, it's just been sat a while, hasn't it? I'm going to have a look at the dipsticks if there's any water in the oil. I may try and turn it over by hand with a spanner first, see if it actually turns over, and if it does, I'll see if I can take the glow plugs out and crank it over, and then I'm assuming the engine's knackered, but yeah, we'll see. It's got oil in it, and it doesn't look watery oil. There's no signs of anything like that, so it's a good start. Right, so the glow plugs are quite accessible, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I might, instead of faff around trying to do that with a spanner, I might just take the glow plugs out and then just try and turn it over. I think that's probably the easiest thing to do. I'm going to do that first, just in case by some miracle the engine runs, because if you remember when I did a Mercedes C63 a few years ago, go click in the top right corner and watch that video. The engine, it was supposed to be a flooded car, and the engine was absolutely fine. So I'm going to pray that we're in the same sort of situation here, so I'm going to do that first. So much like a spark plug, you just pull the cap off the glow plug and carefully remove glow plugs. They have a smaller thread than a spark plug, so they can sometimes snap, so you do have to be very careful. I mean, yeah, a little bit of water damage here, look, but not really. Like, it doesn't look that, I mean, you can tell, look here where it's puffed out a little bit, it looks like it's taken on a little bit of water, but the rest of it, it looks fine, to be honest. Right, so we're ready to get a jump pack and turn it over. Right, I've moved the jump pack to the boot now, so we should have a bit more oomph. So let's boost it, power on, And let's give it a go, see what happens. Nothing, doesn't even turn over. Doesn't even turn over. Interesting. Can hear it, it's the relay engaging to turn it over, but it doesn't. So next thing I think we'll try is a code reader. But I think first I'm just going to pop to Halfords and buy a new battery, because for some reason this jump pack here only works when the battery is not flat. So every time, I mean, you just saw it there at the end of the clip, the power cut out, and that's because this jump pack thought, oh, the battery's no good, so I'm just going to stop trying to jump start it, which seems a bit odd to me. So I'm just going to go get a new battery, because we're going to have to do a bit of diagnosis in there, so we're going to need ignition. The battery's clearly knackered, so me and bloody batteries. Now, like I do with all my cars before I buy them, I always do a full history check, make sure there's no discrepancies with the car that I'm trying to buy. And ironically, I think it's all just gone wrong, because I did do my checks before I bought this car using CarVertical, but I must have glazed over them and not concentrated, because I've just found something here that is really actually quite worrying. Now, it brings up a dashboard here, look, and you've got odometer, financial and legal status, and damage. Now, obviously, I know it's damaged, it's category N, that's why I buy these cars. I don't have to worry as much about that. And the financial and legal status, I just clicked and I glazed through it, and I just assumed it was because it had no MOT. But if you click on it, look, and you scroll down, look what it says at the top there. This vehicle was marked as scrap. Now that is very worrying, because it's illegal to sell me a car that's been scrapped. If the vehicle's been scrapped, yeah, it's illegal to actually sell it on. So I don't know what's going on there, but that's now very worrying. And this is exact reason why you do these sorts of checks. I think it might be a mistake, so I need to do some research in this video, and I'll let you know at the end of it. But if you were to buy this off a normal person and this was just a private buy, and you didn't do your checks and you later found out the car was scrapped, then I don't think there's really much you could do. You'd be out of pocket. So that is why it's very important to do these types of checks. Look, if you click on it, it says it was scrapped in 2021, so just after it was written off. So I need to find out what's going on there, because as it stands, this car can't go back on the road and shouldn't even be physical. But going through the rest of the report, yeah, we know it was damaged, and we know it was a write-off again in October of 2021, category N. So everything else, and the mileage I think is good as well. Nice steady increase, so that is good. So guys, it's paramount that you do your checks. I've just proven exactly why, because I could be in a bit of a pickle here, potentially bought an illegal scrapped car. So if you click the link in my description, if you're looking to buy a car or you want to check the car that you've already got, use my discount code there. I'll put it at the bottom. Go grab yourself some discount. And a big thanks to CarVertical for highlighting this is scrapped, and for sponsoring today's video. I went on some reports as well that you can actually see the damage of the car when it was at auction. So I'll give an example of this Audi TT here. Look, we click on damage, we scroll down, and we can actually see the pictures of when it was at auction. So if you're looking to buy this car now, you know where to look for the damage. Right, I've just fitted a new battery, so I'm going to eliminate now any battery problems. I'm just going to try and turn it over again. No, still nothing. So the first obvious thing to do is just check for fuses to make sure there are none broken, that is. And luckily, because the car's old enough, it actually has a wiring diagram and tells you what fuse does what. So a quick look, 31 starter, and I've actually just had a quick look, and that fuse should be here in that slot, and it is completely missing. So whether they've done that as a safety precaution or I don't know. So let me go grab a fuse, plug it in, and see what happens. Right, let's just plug the fuse in and give that another go. Still nothing. Interesting. Let's have a look at the starter motor then. The starter motor is really accessible on the TT because the battery's in the boot, so I just need to remove the airbox. So now we're just going to check the voltage at the starter motor, and to do this, it's all connected to the top post and the fuse box. So if we just go straight to the top post here, and there we go, look, we've got 12 volts, so that is good. So now if we go down to the starter motor, it should also be 12 volts because it's all connected. And there we go, look, so the starter motor has a 12 volt direct feed. So now we just need to work out where it's not coming from. So there's 12 volts going into the fuse box as well. So it could just be a dead starter motor. Remember, this should be a flooded car, so it does make sense that the starter may have seized. Now, there is a way that we can check this. Right, usually the weapon of choice is like a screwdriver or something, so I'm just going to bridge the connections, and that should tell us whether the starter motor is trying to start or not. There we go, so you heard the starter motor there, but it didn't sound like it engaged. So let's just do it again. So you can hear it spinning, but it's not engaging. But that still doesn't change the fact that the car isn't doing that when I plug it in. The starter motor is easily removed from the top of the car. There's just 2 bolts holding it to the gearbox. There's 1 positive wire, 1 earth wire, and then 1 electrical connection as well. And then the whole thing just comes straight out the top. And once I'd removed it, I popped down to my local parts branch, picked up a new one, and installed it in the exact reverse order. Right, that's now the starter all plumbed in. Obviously, we're testing 2 things here. A, to get the engine actually turning over, and then B, to see if it does turn over, see if it's not seized. Obviously, glow plugs are out, hole in combustion cylinder, so we may see water. So let's give it a go. Clutch is already depressed because it's broken, so I shouldn't have to put my foot on that. It should just turn over and see what happens. Oh yeah, we have water. A little bit's coming out, look, can you see? That could just be diesel also though. But it's turning over. It didn't sound too bad, if I'm honest. Was that diesel coming out? Could have just been diesel. Do I put them? Well, it's turning over. It sounded fine. I don't know if it sounded a bit like a lack of compression, but you did hear the bursts coming out of it, which indicates compression. So do I just put the glow plugs back in and turn it over? Of course I do. Let's do it. Right, moment of truth. Is it going to start? Are you going to start? Started straight away. I think it sounds good. Can't hear any knocking. It sounds sweet. Am I just the luckiest person in the world with cat ends and flooded engines and not supposed to run and they do? Or is there a catch? Right, we've got a load of faults on the dash still, so now we've got it running. Let's try and get a clutch pedal, I guess. So suction bleeder next. She sounds sweet. Yeah, sounds sweet. Beautiful. So next up, we need to obviously try and get it to drive. And to do that, we need a clutch pedal. And I don't know why the clutch is on the floor at the moment, but the first thing we can try is just to bleed it and see what happens. The brake fluid doesn't look dirty, it doesn't look low, so unless it has just been sat for an almighty amount of time, I don't see a reason why it's in the floor. Again, the clutch could be knackered, but we will find out. So, screw on our adapter. Basically with this like semi-automatic, well, it's an automatic bleeder, we're just going to connect our brake fluid, which I have in this little reservoir here. Full of brake fluid, new brake fluid. We're going to connect it up to the reservoir. We're going to then pump until we get around about 2 bar of pressure. So it's basically like I've got my foot on the brakes, I'm holding pressure, and then we're going to crack off the nipple on the clutch and fluid should come out. And we're going to do that for a little bit, just to see if we can get a pedal. So this here is our clutch bleed. On this I should be able to turn it on my hand, to be fair, and I might just turn it just to see if there is any, if we can hear any air coming out. Can't hear anything. Oh, there we go. Right, okay, so we have fluid in there, so let me go get my bottle. Bottle somewhere. Just turn it. and then just jump back in and use my hand just to... I can still hear air. Can hear that? Less of it though. Yeah, so I've tried pumping the clutch and I just cannot get a pedal. However, I've just gone around this side of the car and found something really interesting in the form of what looks to be a puddle, but on closer inspection, that is brake fluid. So it may not be a clutch, because I just assumed that the clutch plate had like seized and got stuck. But it looks like we may have a split pipe or a slave cylinder gone. So I just need to get under here and just see where that's coming from. The brakes feel okay, so I'm guessing it's probably the slave cylinder. Let's just see if we can have a look. Oh god, yeah, bit of a mess. Oh, it could be the clutch. It's not the slave. Oh, it might be the slave. Could be various points. It's dripping. It's dripping at various points by the looks of it. Right, where is the clutch line? It's here. Where's it? Where's it go? So it's not leaking out there. I reckon it probably is the slave. So I've done something I don't normally do, and that is actually give the car a clean first. And I'm sure we can all agree that this is looking a lot better. Not perfect, obviously, but it's 10 times better than what it was. And let's crack on trying to get this gearbox out. First thing off is the under tray, and on the TTs they have this aluminium brace that sits under the car here, which needs to be removed, along with the front wheels as well. And because this is quattro, we need to remove the prop shaft and the transfer box. Now, there is a lot of cobwebs and evidence that this car has been sat for a long time, but it's not too bad. Now, once we've got the brace removed from under the car, we have a little bit more access to remove from. Also remove the wheel arch liners as well, and then we can just get to work like a normal car, drive shafts out, wishbones off. And because we've got a transfer box, it is easier to drop the subframe slightly and hold it back with a ratchet strap, just so we've got enough room to drop the gearbox down. Prop shafts can be quite hard to remove on your own, so I've used a counter hold spanner on the other end of the prop shaft just so I can undo the bolts. And once you remove the around about 8 gearbox bolts holding it in, you can then prise it off slowly with a lever bar. I did actually forget to remove one of the transfer bolts, which were hidden around the back, and you can see the gearbox mount at the top there is hitting the subframe, so I needed to remove that too. But once that's out, you can prise it off nice and slowly, drop the engine a little bit as well, which helps, and then it just falls out. And don't drop it off the axle stand, which I nearly did. And there we go, with the gearbox removed, we can see straight away our problem. Look, we have a perished slave cylinder. So basically all the fluid was coming through here and just being pushed straight out of here, and it was leaking out the bottom of our bella housing. So that is why we had no pedal on the clutch. And to be fair, I'm a bit surprised that it's perished so badly. The car has sat for a couple of years, but that's nothing major really. I mean, I wouldn't expect to see perishing like that on a 8-9-year-old car that's sat there, to be honest. But there we go, new slave cylinder. And obviously while I'm here, we're going to replace the clutch as well. The car's only done 40,000 miles, so it probably doesn't need it, but it may have a bit of a weak clutch plate, just like the R8 did, because that had sat for a while, and I think the clutch had seized on that. So go click in the top right corner if you want to watch the rebuild series on the R8. So I'm going to whip this clutch off now, and then we're going to head down to Cambridge and pick up a 3-piece kit, which should come with a clutch plate, and slave cylinder 2. Since the car sat for a while, the flywheel plate is quite surface rusty as well, so I just cleaned that up and it came out really nice. There we go, look, I used my wire brush attachment on my drill and just cleaned up all the surface rust on the flywheel, and it's all good. Now, the flywheel's good, it does its job, which is to obviously take up vibration from the engine, so we should have a bit of play like that. but then there should be rubber stops either side, and they should basically dampen, which is what they do. So the flywheel's fine, it's just we cleaned up the surface there. So now new clutch should go on lovely. And that actually gave me the idea to apply the same logic to the discs as well, because they were only surface rusty, a little bit of wire, clean them up a little bit, and they come out pretty nice. They weren't that badly worn. Now, I knew trying to get this gearbox back on with the transfer box in place would be an absolute nightmare, so I opted to take it off first, and I think that massively benefited. Then before the gearbox goes back on, we need to fit the new clutch and then put it all back together. Got a wiggle. Ooh, are we in? Are we in? Are we in? I think we're in. Smashed it. We are in. Right. That genuinely took 30 seconds to get that on. And I reckon that's mainly because of my executive decision to take the diff off. So I'm going to pat myself on the back on that one. So the last thing to do now is just to refit the transfer box that I removed, which was a bit harder than obviously removing it outside the car. But once that was in, I just refitted everything. I didn't film anything else. It's just the exact opposite of removing it. Right, so I'm at a stage where I've got everything in that I need to, everything that's going to enable me to start it and try and drive it. So wheels back on, it's on the ground. Now I've just bled the clutch like I did earlier on in the video, and we now have a pedal. So that is a very good start. So let me just connect the battery back up there and give it a go. We're saying that, don't know where the keys are. Oh, the keys are down there. Right. Right, moment of truth. Foot on the clutch. She runs, but does she go into gear? She does. And she moves. Yes. Let's check reverse. Yeah, that feels good. Gearbox feels nice. Beautiful. I don't think we have any problems here at all. Sweet. She runs and she drives. So we're outside under our own steam. We are now running and driving. So I've pretty much done this car. However, there are still a few faults left on the system. One of them, there you go, the airbag control module, which is what a lot of the modules are saying, just no communication with the airbag. And I've got a red airbag light on the dash. Now on here, it's got our fuse and what they do and their locations. And the only one for airbag is fuse 10, which we can see up there is top right in from the 2, and I have already checked, it is again missing. It should be in there, so let me get a 10 amp fuse. Right, there was actually 2 fuses missing, one for airbag and one for BCM as well, so I've just put those both in now. So I'm going to now clear this and redo it and see what comes back. And there we go, all them ABS faults have now gone as well. There's just one left for, it says sound system defective or something like that. Sound system defective. I mean, it does work. Everything works. I've tested it, so I'm going to ignore that. And electrics just says alarm horn, communication. But again, I'm not really bothered about that, as long as it runs and drives with no errors, which it should now do. Beautiful. So there it is, the Mark II amplified Audi TT. I bought it on here to do a bit of a project for someone else to buy, and me basically just diagnose it, take all the risk away for you, and I've ended up fixing it myself. I don't know, I've obviously just got carried away, haven't I? But once the engine ran, it kind of made sense to continue on with it. But now it's all good, drives absolutely fine, no faults, engine pulls really nice. A car's just really nice, to be fair, and considering it's sat for roughly 2 years, which is what I think, it's remarkably clean underneath. There's no rust or anything like that, so it's a really good car. Now there's just a few cosmetic things, well actually I'd say few, there's just one. It's just the splitter where Copart have damaged it. The rest of the car is immaculate, and it's also in the, it's not in Ibis white, which is flat, it's glacier white, so it's the metallic pearl white. Yeah, all this thing now really needs is an MOT, and to sort out the fact that it may be scrapped. Now, I have actually rung and spoken to the DVLA, and they have told me that the car is actually sat in trade. So therefore it's not been scrapped as far as they're aware. Now they said I can just go to the post office and apply for a V5. So that is obviously very good news, and there must have been some sort of mix up. And what we think has happened is when the insurance company have written the car off, they get an option to either write the car off or scrap the car. And we think they've maybe ticked the wrong box and ticked scrap car, when in fact obviously it hasn't been scrapped. So I can't really sell the car until I've cleared up any discrepancies on the HPI reports and CarVertical reports to make sure that the person that's having this car isn't going to have an issue where they're trying to sell it and it said the car's been scrapped. So until that's been resolved, I don't know how long it's going to take, I can't really sell it or do anything with it. So it's kind of stuck in limbo until that. So I'm going to apply for the V5, might as well MOT it, and then possibly sell it. If anyone's interested in the car, guys, do let me know. Just either comment, no, don't comment here actually, just email me at savingsalvage1@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram at saving_salvage. So that is going to be the Audi TT, guys. Nice one in, one out video, all done and dusted in one. I hope you did enjoy this type of video. If you do, please do like and subscribe. And next up, I think it's going to be the Defender. Or shall I raffle it? Let me know. Cheers, guys.